why we're not why we're here, but what a good chunk of the portion we want to talk about was your good old friend, the American
Uh,
Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and every year it gets very close to around the annual passing of his death. I always do a tribute. I always have a good guest on. I had Dustin on. I had Tully. I had Nikita. I had superstar Billy Graham made a surprise appearance to talk about
wow.
Dusty and those matches. Whew. Don't speaking
Wow.
about holding
Yeah.
up, love
Wow.
those matches
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But I wanted you on. Good friend of Dusty, not just Dusty the wrestler, but Dusty the man, Dusty the guy. When did you first meet Dusty? Would it be 74 in Florida or something?
Actually, it was before that. He was leaving Amarillo when I was still in college. And he hates when I say that because that makes him a year older than me. But he hated that fact. And he lied about his age. And I want to tell you what kind of person. Dusty is a great man, but Dusty sometimes had real imagination for the truth. Imagine it. So Dusty and I always, lied about our age. I didn't, but Dusty did. Dusty, when you born, Brisco? I said September 46. I know he was born in October 45. But, every territory he went, I followed this in. But to answer your question, I first met him in Amarillo as he was leaving, going up to Maine or somewhere like that to play semi-pro football. And so I was passing through and, hey, how you doing? Met Murdoch for the first time and Terry and Junior. I was just still in college and I was in training, so I was on loan to Amarillo to go down and do a bunch of favors for him on TV. So I met all those guys, and we hit it off right off the bat there. So that's when I first met Dusty. That had to be 69, right? 68, late 68, 69. And so, anyway, I met him there, ran across him in Kansas City, doing the same thing, but just, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. But when we finally hooked up and finally became really, really tight and all that stuff was in 74 down, 73 or 74 down here in Florida and continued to have a friendship. And I was telling somebody the other day, somebody said, hey, I saw a picture of the body shop opening. It had a picture of Dusty and Gordon. Dusty Rhodes and Gordon Soley were two of the first investors in Brisco Brothers Body Shop. And so
Wow.
he was a partner, in the shop when we first opened up, helping do. I mean, he was there for promotion. We had, and I think this particular picture that I had was one where we did the grand opening with Dusty Rhodes and Jack, myself, Mike, and Eddie, all the baby faces there at the body shop signing autographs. That thing got so damn big, we thought it was just a little body shop opening on the corner of Hubert and Buffalo. Thing got so damn big, the cops came and had to close down the streets there because the traffic was so heavy and everything. Everybody there, that's how hot the territory was at that time. It was tremendous. So, yeah, Dusty, we had the friendship there so well that, he became investor at the shop with us. And he wanted out, and Gordon wanted out. When we busted open right out of the chute because the promotion that Dusty and Gordon helped us do, we had local TV coverage. And mind you, there wasn't no professional teams here in Tampa at the time. All you had was UT football and championship wrestling from Florida. And we dominated everything and highlight. And we dominated the sports pages. And so when we had that grand opening, especially when the cops had come and close down, we were on the news. So we busted out of the gate, and that body shop was just kicking ass every day, every week, man. We're doing really, really good. Everybody's happy making money. Then all of a sudden, the insurance companies, hey, we've let you guys flow, but there's a certain standard that you got to maintain if you want our business, and you guys got to upgrade all your equipment because we bought used equipment. So now we're looking at a $400,000 or $500,000 note that we got to sign. So Dusty said, "Will you guys buy me out because I can't afford to sign?" And he had tax problems, but he had legitimate issues, so we understood. And Gordon went the same way. He said, I just can't float it right now. If you guys will buy me out, so we bought. That's when we bought them out, but it didn't affect our friendship. I mean, we were friends until the end.
With you guys, what clicked, immediately? Because it's, some guys really get along, some guys don't, some guys are just acquaintances. I know, there's so many wrestlers on the road and there's so much time away from the family, but what kind of made you guys click?
It was background. I mean, we're both from the same part of the world, you know, the Southwest. We understood each other and we trusted each other because we'd met at such an early age and with nothing. I mean, Dream had nothing, I had nothing, Jack had nothing. So we met at just an early age with nothing. And we were happy when each other was making it up through the ranks. It wasn't a jealousy thing. The only there one time that Jack sensed a little jealousy when Jack was just so hot down here. Dusty was trying to get over it, and he just couldn't get over the hump. But nobody could, you know, until
Yeah,
Jack won that title, you know. And
yeah.
then the door started opening for other guys to get over, but nobody could over. But there's a little bickering back and forth, but it never affected their friendship. Every Tuesday night they'd be at the old Imperial Room down there in Tampa, drinking a cold one together, you know, and hooping and hollering and going to Willie Nelson concerts together, George Jones concerts. I mean, I went to more concerts with Dusty Rhodes than I'd have than anybody, probably including my wife, you know, because if anybody was playing that country music anywhere around, we knew we had a free ticket. We knew we had backstage access, and
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, these honky tonk singers were wrestling fans, you know. So it was a great reception for us. And so, like I said, we frequented a lot of concerts together and had a ball with each other. I mean, we were friends, you know.
That's cool because obviously, like the guy, you know, whoever in the concert, the country music star, he likes wrestling, and you guys like him. It's like it's just perfect. Like, oh, you're
Yeah,
playing?
uh,
We're gonna go, you know,
yeah.
backstage. I mean, that's cool, and get to hang out with your buddy.
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, Hank Jr. I mean, he was one of those guys. You know, when he was touring, it's so hot. You know, we were touring also in the Carolinas. You know, and of course Flair and Ricky Steamboat, and myself, and Jack and everybody else on those cards. I mean, Piper, Valentine. You know, Hank Jr. liked all that stuff, and we got kicked out of a hotel one time. We had both of us got barred from a hotel in Richmond, Virginia, uh, one time for partying too late. You know.
Yep. Was Dusty a big, well, not partier per se, but big drinker? He'd like to throw some back.
Dusty was a big partier. You hit it right the first time. I mean,
No.
Dusty loved to party. Dusty loved to drink. I mean, Dusty threw some of the greatest. Like I said, we went over to his house for party. Dusty bought this house over probably about 4 miles from me on across Del Mabry Highway over there, and really nice little thing. It had like 10 acres, and he dozed like 4 or 5 acres over and built a corral, you know, a horse barn and all that stuff because Dusty had that passion for horses, man. He bought his weakness was saddles, man. He bought every damn saddle there was in the world. You walk into his house, right at the doorway, there'd be a new saddle there. Hey, baby, you like my saddle? I just got $5,000. Dusty, damn, $40,000. Wow. As he made more money, the price of the saddles got more expensive. But he had this rodeo ground in the back. He had the swimming pool toward the front, and we go over parties, and you never know who you'd run into. Hell, we ran into some of the most powerful attorneys in the United States at Dusty's party, and we got drunk. Of course, we'd throw them in a damn lake, and Dusty'd be scared to death if they were going to sue him, you know. But it was just typical old wrestler party. We didn't care what size attorney you were, you know. You're fair game if you're by that pool.
What's like? What was it, or what was his drink of choice? Like, what did he like drinking? Like whiskey or?
Good old beer, and if he had to get down there, go Jack Daniels, you know. And but Dusty, he wasn't prejudiced about anything as long as it had some alcohol in. I mean, pure grain alcohol. Dusty drank those old purple passions we all used to drink when we were younger, you know, just pure grain alcohol, a bunch of grape juice until you drink it till you get sick,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And he was the same way. I mean, you know, that of course, we get more responsibility, you change more, and as Dusty got more responsibility, and I give him credit for that. He matured a lot, and you could see that maturity. He stopped going out as much. He stopped fraternizing with all the guys a lot. You know, he kind of slim this circle down. Which you get those responsibilities, you got to do that if you're going to last. And Dusty saw an opportunity. Dusty and I had a lot of thoughts together. We both knew that, the future for us of long term in the business was getting in the office. We both knew that. We talked about that on road trips a lot. Being Booker, being in the office, and one day owning territories and all that stuff. And going down the road, we talked about that stuff a lot. And through hard work and everything, we both accomplished that.
Was that always his goal? Or was it when he got mature, he realized he should be in the office?
No, when he got mature, I mean, and first when he first come in as a booker, he thought he could drink with everybody and party with everybody and still be the boss. He quickly found out, that you can't. You got to draw that line between business and friendship, and you don't want your best friend, getting involved in business argument with you. And so he had, like I said, he narrowed his circle way down, and he got heat from a lot of guys because Dusty's getting to be a big shot now. Dusty don't, my friend Dusty don't call me Dusty, don't drink beer with me. Dude, he got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you working for Eddie Graham or Jim Barnett or Jim Crocker, they call you at 5 a.m. They want to know an office report. They want to know a report from the night before. And if you don't have it, man, you ain't going to make it. So you got to slow yourself down so you can handle your responsibilities. And the Dream was able to do that. And a lot of people didn't think that he could. A lot of people thought Dusty was Dusty, the good old boy, going to stay a good old cowboy out in the bars every night. But it didn't work like that.
What did you think about his ideas? Not just his booking. Everyone says this. Did you think it was out of the box at the time, or did you think you like where he was going with some of his ideas?
Well, I got early experience with that when we were down here in Florida and we were working together in the office. And the last tangos in Texas, and Tampa, the big stadium show, the Orange Bowl shows. We started Dusty. I say we. It was Dusty's idea. Dusty started experimenting with interpromotional matches. You can look on that card and see guys talent from AEW or not AEW. What is it? Virgod is
AWA.
Territory. AWA, whatever. Yeah. AWA, there's matches from there. There's matches from Vince Sr. because we always use those New York guys. And everybody think it was friendship, but it was business because in certain times of the year, South Florida is 90% New Yorkers. So, it wasn't like we were rolling dice bringing in somebody that they didn't know. We're bringing somebody that they did know. So they couldn't make the garden shows. They could make Miami Beach and West Palm Beach shows and see their favorite stars from the WWF. So Dusty really started experimenting then, and then coming up with some of the bizarre matches, that he came up with, and and I give him credit, even as a booker then, he kind of experimented because Florida was fortunate because we ran a lot of spot show towns. So he kind of experimented some of these things in the smaller towns and see how they responded and see how the talent liked them. And Dusty was a big talent guy, making sure the talent was good and safe and everything. So, but yeah, I was as he got on, I think he kind of got out of control. But who am I to judge him? I mean, a lot of people think the same thing about me. But Dusty was Dusty, and Dusty had his style of doing business, and he had his group of guys that he liked to do business, and everybody chided him for that. Breaking into that clique, but. You know what? You can go back to the Buddy Rogers days of our business. Buddy Rogers carried his group of guys around. Luthez carried his group of guys around. All those great champions had their guys that they wanted to work with. Kind of planted them in the territory 6 months or so before they were due to go there, and so built them up. So when the champion went in there, they knew they were safe. So it wasn't anything new. So. When you study the business, when you know the business, you can dissect all these moves. It wasn't out of the ordinary on some of the things he would do.
It's funny, everybody always bust Hogan's balls too. He
always
did that. Yeah. People were doing a lot before him. You know what I mean? He's got his beefcakes and his earthquakes and the Nasty Boys, but everybody did it really. Yeah. You look at WWF guys did it too. The Click. I mean, all those guys did do stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a fact of business, and like we laugh about all the time. You know, there's nothing new in this business. I mean, if you take the time to go back and look, I
Yep.
mean, these guys, well, they invented this. I guarantee you, there hadn't been anything invented in a long ass time.
Yep. Yep. I was looking. The first match I could find with you and Dusty, you beat him in Georgia Championship Wrestling in '74. I don't know if
Man,
you're
I'm
going to
glad
remember
he's
that or
not
not, but
alive. I'm
yeah.
glad. I'm glad he. Well, I'm not glad he's not alive. But man, if he heard that, he would. He like Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler, Mike Mooney, my friend down in South Carolina, posted way back thing.
Yep.
I beat Lawler in some match in Macon, Georgia, or Valdosta, Waycross, Georgia. Who cares? Somewhere up in the sticks up there. And Jerry Lawler, why you only post matches when he won over? I said the only time you went over, Jerry, was when I was in Memphis with your referee. So don't get going there. But what was the question again you were asking me
Oh, I
about?
was just saying, like the first match you guys had,
Oh,
you and Dusty. Yeah, yeah.
no, I do not remember that match. I wish I could find a poster of that damn thing. But yeah, Dusty was fun to work with too, as a heel, as a baby face. I mean, he was just a lot of fun because like we trusted each other, and that's so important in a match that you're working with somebody that you can sell as hard and as long as needed, and not have any back thoughts about I'm not going to get my shit in, because the guy you're working with is going to let you get your shit in, and
Yep.
they did, and that's where Dusty was such a great worker. He knew how to sell. A lot of big guys wouldn't or didn't know how to sell. Dusty mastered art of selling down here because Eddie Graham taught him how to sell. Eddie Graham taught him how to draw money by selling, and that's the reason Dusty was such a big star. He, the ultimate, fall guy. He'd go down and sell, juice, color, juice, sell, and all of a sudden he twirled his arm, do a little wiggle, and the place is on their damn feet, man.
That was the magic of him. And I always, obviously, am buddies with Kevin Sullivan. I always talk to him. And he said, "You know what? Nobody ever said about Dusty." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "No one ever said he was fat. Nobody ever talked about him being overweight." And I said, "Really?" He said, "No, because like psychologically, you're just like, I love this guy. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? He was like their hero."
yeah,
And it's funny, like they weren't saying how short Sullivan was either, because he was like this
yeah,
crazy heel. I was like,
yeah.
that's such like good psychology, because you would think people would say like Hogan's bald, but no one says Hogan's bald. You know what I mean? Dusty's fat, right? Did they know? Nobody really mentioned that about Dusty. They just he was just Dusty.
Nobody, but I'll tell you a little inside joke how we used to judge Dusty's weight. How do you think?
You would look at his pants, right, or the belt size or something.
Not even close. We'd look at the
Oh,
damn birthmark.
oh, duh, yeah,
And how big that birthmark can grow would
yeah,
do how big Dusty can grow. It's like an old tree, every milligram of an inch is
yep,
5 pounds, like on a tree, every milligram is 100 years
yeah,
or
yep,
whatever it is.
yep.
There are rings, and so we'd judge the rings around Dusty's birthmark.
That's great. Oh, hilarious. With that, it's funny, but like the fans, we were like super into Dusty. You don't even think like, oh, he's a little chubby. Just like he's just like you get
No,
so invested because
yeah,
he's so
yeah,
charismatic. You're just
yeah,
and everything he does, you're just like, oh, I'm invested in this guy. You
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
like, oh, he's a little overweight or anything like that.
You never once thought of Dusty Rhodes' body style. You never once. All the comment was, man, he's magic. Man, he's just magic. And he was magic. He was magic to be around. If you didn't smile around Dusty Rhodes, you had something seriously wrong with you. I've seen him just light up room after room after room, walking in the room, and with that smile of his too. Wow. I was honored, and I don't want to jump ahead, but remind me of last time I saw Dream. So before we go off here,
Yeah, yeah. When I interviewed him, his last ever interview was only 2 days before he had passed, and we'd
wow,
spoken briefly a few times, but man, he made it seem like I was like a good buddy of his. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
"Hey, Johnny, what's
yeah,
going on?" Then he
yeah,
calls me, and I call him back, and like there's like a little bit back and forth. Like I didn't really know him, he didn't really
yeah,
know me, but
yeah,
and I felt like it was like, "Oh, I'm like such a great mood." I know
yeah.
Dusty Rhodes. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
one of those things. Like
He
he was
can
just
put
one
you
of
in a
those
mood.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right. He's just one of those guys. He
yeah.
just gets you excitable almost.
Yeah, he does. He does. Well, I had many experience with him, and him and my son Wes. they bonded when Wes was very first born. Dusty had gotten married to his wife, Michelle. And my wife and Michelle became very, very tight friends, almost as tight as Jack and I, and are still friends to this day. And so, both of us being on the road a lot, Barbara used to take Wes over to Dusty's all the time. We got pictures of Wes crawling all over Dusty's saddles, crawling all over Dusty's furniture, holding Dusty holding Wes, and I mean, he bonded with my son, right from the very beginning. To me, that was the makeup of a good person, and when you take a kid and not you bond with the way Dusty bonded with my son, it was a pleasure to see, and it was that's the other side of Dusty Road that a lot of guys on a lot of talent don't get to see, but I got to see it up close.
Even when Wes got in the business, he was still like close with Dust.
Oh, well, down at FCW down there, he was Wes's mentor. I mean, when Wes were down at FCW down there, and Dusty pushed for Wes to become Florida Tag Team Champion, with Xavier Woods at FCW. So he was a big booster of Wes's, and he did everything he could to help.
What would you say like his personality was, Dusty? Just I know he's great with kids. So like, is he like an alpha male? Is like what kind of like is he type A personality? Like what kind of like personality did the Big Dust have?
Wow, great question, because Dusty Rhodes is one of those guys that evolved. I mean, he became an alpha male, but when you first met him, I mean, he was just charismatic. I mean, the very first time, like I said, when I in the late '60s, when I walked in that TV studio and he was there, and he wasn't even working, but he'd come by to see Murdoch and Terry and all of his buddies before he headed out to play football, and he was very charismatic there. Then, running into him in Kansas City when he was with Murdoch as the Outlaws. Wow, I got to see that side of him that, of course, I didn't see the very first time I met him. And I was, holy shit, this guy is good. I mean, and once again, I looked at his size. And then I looked at the athlete that was in the ring possessing that size. And, hell, refrigerator, whatever Perry wasn't on GQ magazine, but man, could he play football?
Right.
Same with
Yeah.
Dusty. I mean, he didn't look the part, but man, he what a great heel he was. And a lot of people don't realize Dusty Rhodes was a great, great, great heel. He would have been as great as he was as a babyface if he had stayed heel somehow. So yeah, you never looked at Dusty as being a warrior.
Was he pushy at all, like with people, like, or did he like to push buttons? Like, how was
Well,
he?
okay, to answer your question, so he evolved, but he was Dusty Rhodes, but he wasn't really an alpha male because he had no confidence in his backstage position because we were young.
Right.
So when I met him in Florida, he did come in as that alpha male. I mean, he came in as an alpha male over on the hillside, but he knew that he wasn't the alpha male when Jack Brisco was around, and he took that role and he nourished that role as a guy that charismatic and the alpha guy in waiting, and he knew he was in waiting because Eddie confided to him that he was in waiting. He was going to be the next guy, and so when he became the next guy, holy cow, did he become an alpha male? He became the strongest damn alpha male in the business. And then I'll tell you, man. We talk about Bruno was so hot, Harley was so hot. There was nobody in this universe as hot as Dusty Rhodes when Dusty Rhodes got hot. Nobody, man, nobody, as Chris Jericho say, nobody in the world. I mean, and you know what? You come up to 20 years ago when we had the Renaissance era with WWF when everybody's so damn hot. All those guys were spanking red hot, but when Dusty Rhodes was ruling the nest, he was main event in every major organization in the entire world. That's how hot he was, and it was off that damn Atlanta TV. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, think about it. He's up in New York. He's down in Florida, Georgia. Yeah, main eventing everywhere he goes. I mean, he'll go over to Japan. I mean, really, really, what a presence. What do you think was it like that made him connect so well with the audience? I mean, obviously it's charisma, but something beyond that.
Yeah, you go back to what we've been discussing. Dusty Rhodes was an ordinary man, you know, and Dusty Rhodes portrayed that. Dusty, and you know, it's overused with Dusty, but a common man, you can say a lot about Vince when they gave him that song, just a common man. And I
Yeah.
mean, wow, we're using that reference for Dusty Rhodes when they say it was the worst gimmick, but that's another sign of Dusty Rhodes taking a gimmick that's a piece of dong and making it into a gimmick that we're still talking about today. You know.
Funny, so many guys when they get bad gimmicks, they'll sulk and you could tell on TV it doesn't work. Him, he seems like the kind of personality type of guy. It's like, really? You're gonna give me this? All right, I'm gonna prove you and like make you look stupid. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna give me this crap? I'll turn
It,
it around on you.
it's the old Jim Ross saying, you know, give me the ball, coach. You know, I don't care where we are on the goal line. Give me the ball, coach, and I'll run. You know, Dusty, give me the ball, Vince, and you know, whatever down it is, I'm going to run. You know, and he
Yeah.
ran.
It's like, can you get any more uncool than polka dots? But
Yeah,
somehow the way, even the way he would say, it goes polka dots.
yeah,
You
yeah.
would like be like, oh, I love polka dots. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He gets you involved and interested.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he used it. I mean, that's what a smart guy does. That's he used it to his advantage, and it worked. You know, would it have worked on Hogan? Would it have worked on Superstar? No, because they wouldn't have taken the gimmick with the grain of salt that Dusty took it and said, I'll make it work." And I don't know that that was Dusty's attitude or not. I don't know because we were so far apart at that time, and there was a time when our friendship really drifted far apart. And when I made my move to WWE and left NWA, under TV Vince McMahon. So we kind of drifted apart then. But later on, he come up to me, and one thing I always remember: him and Terry Funk both had told me they thought it was the greatest move that we ever could have done by selling our stock to Vince McMahon. Both of them told me that face to face, and they were serious. So I appreciated that so much. I mean, that comment coming from those two guys who were Mr. NWA at the time, and coming from them that, hey, you guys did the right thing. If we'd been in a position, we probably would have done the same thing. But we hated you at the time. I said, I
I was
know.
going to say at the time they hated you though. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you and Jack did that and sell the stock, does Dusty at this point just stop communication with you, or was it one of the things where he's talking to you but he's angry with you?
He's not talking to us. I mean, and even my wife's friendship suffered with Michelle a little bit, and it was a rough time for our families. It really was, But it was all business, and you know what? They dug in, and Dusty made the best of a situation, and we dug in and did the best of the situation too. So, it all worked out.
When did you rekindle? Would it be when he came back to WWF in '89 or whatever it was?
Yeah, and even then it was kind of distant, your friend, but you can tell, it's just not that bond that you had, 20 years ago when you're much younger and
Yeah.
you didn't have all that mileage behind it. You just felt that. And as we worked closer and closer, and a lot of guys will tell you, when Dusty come back, Vince wasn't really a big fan of Dusty's at the time either. It was an uphill grind for Dusty to get in a position that he's getting in. It took me and Michael Hayes a couple of trips to Vince's office at TVs to kind of cool the distance between the two of them, and we eventually did it, and they become close. But yeah, we started. That's when we started renewing our friendship. But in the beginning, it was that one, where you did this, and we've been away for this long. I don't know what your motives are and all that stuff until we could tell each other, face to face, one on one. Because up until then, there'd never been a phone call. There'd never been a what to do or this is why I did it. I mean, we didn't reach out to him, and he didn't reach out to us, and so. with that time, because you come so tired at TV because you're putting in 14, 15, 16 hours, with somebody. So, after a while you just, you loosen up, you start talking to each other, and you solve the problem between the two of us. And we did, and we're both glad we did. I mean, we ribbed each other, all the time. So
What's a good rib you played on him?
Man, I used to borrow his truck, because when I first moved out where I did, I still had a car because I was still on the road a lot. So I couldn't afford both the car and the truck after I bought my house out here. So Dusty had a big truck. It was kind of our community truck out here, and I'd go borrow Dusty's truck. I'd take all the damn Texas tapes out, put all Oklahoma tapes in the damn thing. He'd get in, come time get in. Of course, everything was turned full blast. The stereo turned full blast. The heater in 90-degree weather turned full blast, here in Florida. So just mess with him, things like that. Just play ribs on him.
He probably got, really, really annoyed, because once he get a little hot,
Yeah,
he
and he's
start
a
getting a little
big
crazy.
man.
Yeah.
He's a big man.
Yep.
So we just had fun. It was never anything malicious or property damage or anything like that. But we had fun with each other.
Was he like a big ribber though? Like, I know maybe joking around and stuff, but did he do many ribs?
More joking around. He wasn't a ribber, and he didn't really like ribs. He just didn't really care for them. I mean, it was just his demeanor, and he didn't really put up with them. And but when you're around smartasses like myself and Jack and Mike Graham and Dick Slater and Steve Kern, you're gonna hear a lot of shit, and
Yeah.
you better adapt, because that's what you're around.
I was talking to Rob Naylor. He was actually doing he
Right.
we used to work for FCW,
Yeah.
and he was telling me a story about Dusty and Terry Funk, and I was like, wait a second. What do you mean they were hanging out behind closed doors? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I thought they hated each other. Like, this was like last year. I'm like, I thought they hated each other. He said, no, they're friendly. And I said, I can't believe that. The Dusty and Terry Funk are buddies.
I tell you, Rob used to hang out in a production office down at FCW when Dusty and I was in there, because, at that time there weren't too many people in existence that could stay with Dusty Rhodes on stories and rib Dusty Rhodes like I
Right.
could. And
Right.
Rob used to sit in there. I'd see him over there in the corner, just glowing when I'd get on Dusty, because nobody else in the building would ever get on Dusty. I'd park in Dusty's parking spot and just to screw with his head there. And I couldn't wait for him to come in, because he'd run right straight to Steve, and I'd see him with his head. But I did every damn time I went there. Yeah, because he was never there on time, so that made event parking spot the Bob Bucher parking spot. Brother, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
I'll find a place later. But I knew it was a dream. I mean, that didn't take a brain surgeon to figure out. But screw it, man. I put my old big old Ford truck right in there. Sometimes I back in like just for the hell of it. He come in furious.
I was gonna say, would he come in and start throwing stuff around?
Oh, he'd come in and he'd go right to Kern. And I see grab Kern, and he'd be pointing. I know what he was pointing at, and he'd start red in the face. And pretty soon I'd walk over there and he'd kind of calm down. And sooner or later I'd go out, move my truck out of the way, and pull his truck in there. So when he left, he'd have his parking spot there. But it's just kind of those little kind of things. I just had a ball, doing that.
That's great though, because he's not the king of the castle, but he's a big deal. He's Dusty, but that's great that somebody's
he's Dusty, man.
Yeah, but it's like, it's like, you know what? I'm Jerry Brisco. I'm going to humble you a little bit, just jokingly, but I'm gonna,
Yeah. Well, we had fun with each other. I mean, like I said, he knew it was fun, and it wasn't, it wasn't a one-up Dusty Rhodes by any means. It was just Brisco being Brisco.
Yep. Dr. Tom said there was a few times he said stuff to him at FCW, and Doug Dream would say he was going to kick him out, or he'd mess with him and not talk to him for the rest of the day. Yeah. So he's like, I don't know if you're serious or not. So then it would turn around where Dusty was messing with him because he, mind screwed him or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just playing tricks on you. He's like, oh, now Dusty must be mad at me. He's not talking to me for the rest of the day. Just fun stuff, nothing harmful.
Yeah, that's fun, and that was Dusty. That was Dusty's style of ribbon, just fun stuff. And that was Dusty's personality too. And wow, what a guy!
What would you say, like, when you just look at him, like, in ring? Like, what would you say, like, about him as far as, like, because he could do the 60-minute matches, but you wouldn't think he could do, you know what I mean? What do you think about him as, like, the worker and the wrestler?
Well, man, I got to tell you this story here. Dusty Rhodes, when Jack was doing all these 60-minute Broadway down here. I was doing 60-minute Broadway down there. Mike Graham was doing 60-minute Broadway down there. Harley Race was doing 60-minute Broadway down there. Terry Funk was doing 60-minute Broadway down there. Dusty Rhodes was doing 20 minutes at the max. So one summer, Dusty came over to Jack and I's place. Hey guys, let's go play basketball. We used to go play basketball in Florida at 110 degrees. And basketball courts don't have any tree coverage either.
Nope.
So sometimes we go get Don Morocco. Now here's a 300-pound gorilla playing with another 300-pound plus Texan, So Jack and I are smarter than these guys. We played a little basketball. These two guys, they're both coconut heads. So we would just pass the ball back and forth and make these guys run in it damn hot heat. Pretty soon, Dusty Headstrong would be grabbing the basketball, and Morocco would be going by, and hell, we'd beat the crap out of them, and they never could figure out why. So Dusty would always say, man, how do you go a 60-minute Broadway? We'd sit in a truck on a trip or something, and Jack and I would explain to the pacing on going a 60-minute Broadway, how you break the matches down in different little segments, and all of that, and how you feel the people, and to judge when it's time to do stuff, and a basic foundation once again. So that was his goal, is to go a 60-minute match. And he went to Eddie and he asked us to back him up on this thing. He said, next time Harley's in town, I'm going to go talk to the boss. I'm going to tell him that we're out here playing basketball every day. We're out, playing football. And we were out. I mean, we're crazy. We're in the middle of summertime, Florida. We're out training with Dusty Rhodes to drop a little few pounds with him and get him in shape to go 16 minutes, because that's what the Dream wanted to do. And so we're out there, we're sweating our asses off. So Eddie comes to Jack and I, mostly Jack, and asked, what do you think? Can the big guy do it? And Jack said, Eddie, he worked his ass off. He at least deserved a shot. And he said, if anybody can give him 60 minutes, it'll be Harley Race. So, all right, the match is set. We're going 60 minutes. Then the training intensifies. This guy, I mean, he's a beast. He's out, he called me, he's in his pool. He's lap swimming in his pool. He's out playing football catch with Freddie Solomon of the great University of Tampa receiver down here. He's playing basketball, me and Jack. He's playing softball with us, running the field. And the guy is getting into shape. Man, he trained, and he actually trained. And that night, the big night was coming. And I've seen Dusty win titles. I've seen Dusty do it, but I've never seen Dusty as nervous as he was that night. He wasn't winning the title, but he was winning the victory because he went 60 minutes. He was so happy, and backstage was so happy for the guy because everybody knew Dusty had been training. So we were all backstage waiting for him to come back. And man, oh man, did we have a party that night? No, Hillbilly joint.
Nice. Pretty amazing though. Like, he had to fight for it, to get the 60
he
minutes.
He did.
Yeah.
Nobody trusted him. I mean, man that size, you didn't make him go 60 minutes in this heat down here in Florida. And back in those days, the buildings were air conditioned, and also people smoked in the damn building. So you had all that heat and humidity and all that damn smoke just draped over the ring. You've seen those old pictures of arenas, back in those days.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're smoke filled. It's hard as an athlete. It's hard to breathe in that damn smoke.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. And I think it was Tony Schiavone and Connie. They just put up a video. I think it was an old video, but somebody had re-put it up. It was NWA versus the Police. It was some charity basketball game. Mm-hmm. Dusty was really good. He was dominating, hitting threes, layups. I mean, he literally dominated them.
Yeah, we had all kinds of those things, and a lot of that had to do with Dusty, and most of it had to do with Gordon Soley. We had an FCW softball team. We played the St. Pete Cops. We played the Firefighters. We played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 years in a row. and they're lucky that the time limit ran out, or we would have beat them. But it ended up 0-0. And we played against a bunch of stars. We played those charity softball games. And Dusty was a star at each game that we played. I mean, whether it be basketball, whether it be softball, whatever it was. Dusty was the star. Dusty was a great athlete. A lot of people sell him short, but man, Dusty Rhodes was an athlete.
I'm surprised he's cutting the lane, hitting layups, and all of a sudden he's backing up, hitting threes. I'm like, wow, he's pretty good at basketball too. It's like, wow, amazing. Was he a big community guy, like a big community advocate?
Yeah, he was to a degree, but it got to a point where he couldn't even do those because people just didn't know how to manage security in those days, and it was a zoo. Like I said, our little body shop signing went from an organized little body shop opening up in a neighborhood. How intimidating can that be to the police having to come and close streets down at every major news station in towns there with a live cutaway of the traffic jams and everything. So it got to be where he couldn't do a lot of, but the priest that officiated his memorial here, Monsignor Higgins, we became very, very tight with Monsignor. And Dusty was a Catholic, and Dusty got Jack and I involved, and we're Southern Baptists, and so. But we did a lot to help build St. Lawrence School here in Tampa by doing fundraisers for them, and we're Monsignor Higgins' go-to guy for fundraisers and everything, and got to love him, and he loved the three of us. He officiated both Dusty and Jack's death, and he sort of passed away afterwards.
What was the last time you saw Dusty? I know you wanted me to bring that up. When was the last time you actually did see him?
Well, it was over at NXT, and it was very, very strange. Dusty hadn't been coming around because he hadn't been feeling real good, and so I'm sitting here, and it's the last day, and I'm evaluating some talent, and all of a sudden I feel this hand on my shoulder, and I look behind me, and it's a Dream standing there smiling. So of course we got up and we hugged each other, and said hello to each other, sat there and bullshitted a while, and talked about how we're doing and everything. And I got to tell you, Dusty looked fantastic. I mean, he just looked fantastic. But he did something that he very rarely does. He said, baby, he said, we ain't got a picture together. He said, do you mind if I take a selfie? Now, this is American Dream Dusty Rhodes asking you if you mind if he takes a selfie. And I'm thinking in my mind, I know the health stories and everything. Man, this is really kind of strange. So he gets up there and he takes that selfie. And Michelle tells me it was the last picture on his phone.
Wow! Oh my God!
Yeah. It was chilling, and so.
Yeah. Wow, it's powerful. Yeah.
So I got that. And I walked out with him. He said, I got to go, baby. And we walked out. And I hugged him. I said, Dream, I'll see you down the road. He said, I'll see you, brother. And he drove off in his truck. That was the last time I saw Dream.
Wow. Amazing, though. And the last picture on his phone, he wanted to take a picture with you. Pretty cool, though, for you.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, you think about it. Wow. And like I said, that's unusual for Dream to ask for a picture.
Yep. Yeah, weird. And it's funny because like the last time I spoke to him, he goes, "Hey, baby," he goes, "Next time you want to do this," he goes, "Bring a bag of cash." Just joking around. He goes, "I'm kidding." He goes, "Oh," he goes, "We'll do this again sometime." So I'm thinking in my head like, "Wow." And then when I heard
he liked those bags of cash, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah.
So I've seen him receive quite a few of them.
Oh yeah. Oh, I believe it. So he's like, I'm kidding, baby. He goes, we'll do this again. So I'm thinking that. So when I heard he had passed, I was just shocked because he sounded great on the phone. I talked to him, like the next day I talked to him. He sounded like Dusty Rhodes would sound. He was making fun of Larry Zbyszko like a normal person would, stuff like that. He sounded great. So I was pretty shocked to hear that he had passed.
Yeah. I was too, because like I said, when I left Orlando, I was happy because I got to see Dream, and I was happy because he looked good and he sounded good. He was in a positive state of mind with himself too. And I'd been over there a few times where Dusty wasn't in that great frame of mind. And you when Dusty was in the dumps, you could tell when Dusty was grumpy in the dumps. I mean, that charisma just turned into a crowd, and you could tell. And he kind of would just question him and help him out any way you could, but you could tell something was bothering him. I didn't really know how bad the health situation was. I knew it was bad, but hell, it's Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a dream, So
Yeah.
you don't think about the downside,
Wore his emotions on his sleeve. He seems like that kind of guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was. Just I'm proud of my friendship. I really am. You pass through this business, you meet a lot of people, and you become close to a lot of people. You share a lot of heartbreaks with the guys on the road and the girls on the road. You share a lot of victories, and they're the substitute for your family. But you don't really become really tight friends with a lot of people on the road, and there's very few. And wow, Dusty Rhodes was one that I became friends with.
It's crazy, like how long you guys knew each other too. Like kind of like going through the roads together,
Yeah,
and then working for again, end up working for WWE together. I mean, that's a long friendship,
cool.
right? Like, how many years would that be? 50 years, basically.
50
Yeah.
years, 50 years probably. Yeah, close
Wow,
to
it's
50 years. So,
crazy.
and they all weren't roses, They
Right.
can't be
Yep.
with dream. They can't be with two people that wanting to climb in the same business. You're going to butt heads somewhere along the road.
Right.
And it's how you butt heads and the class and the dignity that you use when you're butting heads. And Dream and I always gave each other the utmost respect because, like I said, when we first met, we were both going different directions with the same goal in mind and with nothing in our pocket, So, and Dusty Rhodes made it to his destination.
I had before, we start wrapping up stuff. I got to mention this because it's just so random. I love looking at matches and seeing like who guys wrestle and stuff. You and Dusty in '74 in Florida versus this is such a random team. Maybe it's not, but to me it is. Bill Watts, Dick Slater in the Texas Tornado match, and Lou Thez is the referee. I'm just like looking. I was like,
Wow,
man, I was like, wow, that's like like
wow.
sticks out like a sore thumb. You're like, wow, that's
Uh,
such an interesting matchup there.
Dusty and I were friends, and then Bill Watts was booking at the time, and Bill knew that Dusty and I were tight, So that chemistry, once again, Bill wanted the best quality of matches, and Bill booked some strange, different bookings too. But he always took advantage of the guys' chemistry with each other, and so he knew Dream and I had a good chemistry, and he knew. And he wanted an easy match. He wanted somebody could sell and somebody could come back, and he had them both. I'd give the sell and a hot tag to Dream come in, and boom, boom, boom. Now I go the lights.
And then another just random one from '81. You, your brother, and Dusty versus Bobby Jaggers, Buzz Sawyer, and Eddie Mansfield. Like I was like, wow, what a
Wow.
6-man.
Where was that in Orlando?
Let me see, where was that? That was in West Palm Beach at
West
the
Palm Beach.
auditorium.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't remember that one, but what a thrill! I go back. Lou Thez referee.
Yeah.
That was always a real thrill to me because I came along just when Lou was active part of it was finished there, and I did get the opportunity to physically work with him, and having a special referee like that. And it was always the same when we had a guy like Joe Lewis come in, and wow, I mean, here's my grandma's favorite athlete of all time was Joe Lewis, and here he is sharing a ring with me in a wrestling match. It was a thrill. I mean, we were looking back, and a lot of us are blessed and really don't realize, how blessed we were until you look back on it. So
Yeah.
it was fun, and it's been fun sharing these memories with you, man.
So cool. And I just love that. Like through the history books, you're like, wow, like Jaggers and Mansfield, like
Yeah.
these guys, and then it's like you, Dusty, and your brother. I mean, wow,
I
it's an
tell you,
awesome man. Yeah.
Bobby Jaggers was one of Dusty Rhodes' best friends, and Bobby performed above his ability when he worked for Dusty. He really did. Bobby became a really good worker, and Bobby was a good worker, but he became a star with Dusty, and that's something that Dusty Rhodes could do to a lot of these guys. And if you look back, Dusty liked a lot of those cowboy-looking guys, the Bobby Jaggers, whoever Bobby Jagger's partner was back in the days, the Eddie Manfields, he liked those rugged guys. He liked to work with them, and he liked to book them, and he liked their matches, and all that philosophy came from the great Eddie Graham. You know.
So just looking back, the legacy of Dusty Rhodes, we can say his wrestling, his booking, the way he is behind the scenes, Dusty the man. What do you think is the legacy of Dusty Rhodes?
Well, it'd be Dusty the Booker. I mean, Dusty, the Booker. I think. I mean, but don't overlook that career, and you know, Dusty Rhodes is one of those guys. Well, what's the greatest thing about Dusty Rhodes that you can think of? It's charisma. You know, holy cow, you're missing so much. You're
Yep.
missing so much. Look inside that charisma. And find out what's the guy. Why did he have that charisma? What was an enabler to put that out there? Is this business? You had to be good, no matter how much charisma you had, because you would both see guys loaded with charisma that couldn't draw a dime. So you had to have that ability to go along with that charisma, and Dusty Rhodes should be noted for more than just charisma.
And that bionic elbow. Can't forget the bionic elbow.
Bionic elbow. I love that place. And that was the great thing. Everybody loved working with Dusty because all you had to do was run into an elbow. Boom, boom, boom. We love it.